Red Sox Weekly with Ashish Sharma.
Hey everybody, welcome to the first edition of Red Sox Weekly here on BostonSportsRadio.net. I'm your host Ashish Sharma. We'll be coming to you every Thursday from now until the end of the regular season and hopefully into the postseason. So keep your fingers crossed for October. I'm really excited about this podcast and looking forward to doing this with you guys every Thursday, and hopefully you're just as excited. Let's get started with this. I just want to start by talking about just a crazy week in Boston all around. Red Sox come home after just a fantastic 13 wins in 16 games, come back from this atrocious start in April, fire back with an amazing May. They come back in first place for the AL East, back to Fenway Park. I believe they were one game ahead of the Yankees for first place when they came back. But then they get swept by the Chicago White Sox. We'll talk about that. And then Shaq retires. That was I don't want to say shocking, considering his age and the fact that he's sort of broken down over the years. But, that's pretty big news in Boston here for us. Bruins lost Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And then on top of all these sports headlines here in Boston, we have Black Bears in Metro West Boston. What's this about? It's kind of ironic, actually, considering that the Bruins are in the Stanley Cup Finals. We got Black Bears. I don't know if this is a publicity stunt or if this is legit, but it's pretty interesting stuff. And then, obviously, yesterday we had 7 tornado touchdowns in western Massachusetts, which is unprecedented for this area. And before we dive into the baseball aspect of this show, I just wanted to say that our thoughts and prayers are with those who were affected by the storms yesterday. Hope you're all doing well now that that is behind us. All right, let's get started. Let's talk some Red Sox baseball. Obviously, the biggest headline, I don't want to say in baseball, but certainly in Red Sox baseball at this moment, Daisuke Matsuzaka will need Tommy John surgery. He started 8 games for us this season. He went 3-3 with a 5.30 ERA. In that span, he had 23 walks and 26 strikeouts. So obviously not a great strikeout to walk ratio right there. He'll be owed $10 million for the rest of this season and $10 million for the rest of next season, which leads me to believe that Daisuke Matsuzaka will not be returning to Boston after next year. And I think before the end of the month, or even sooner than that, he might just get outright released. And the reason I say that is, when you look at how much he's owed, obviously that's a lot of money. That's $20 million between this year and the end of next year. But Tommy John surgery, whenever you're talking about Tommy John surgery and the time it takes to come back from a procedure like this, you're looking at Daisuke possibly coming back next June or July. And that's not even including an actual rehab stint. I mean, he won't even have spring training. So the next time he could pitch in a major league game, you're talking maybe August of next year. So now the front office, especially Theo Epstein, has to sit down and then they have to make a decision on this guy. Obviously, he hasn't given you everything that you thought he was going to be when you went out and signed him in the offseason of 2006. He's got $20 million left and 1.5 years, considering that, about a third of this year is over, but approximately 1.5. You're going to have to pay him either way. He's just going to be sitting there. He's not going to be ready until August of next year at the earliest. So, in my opinion, just pay him his money, release him, goodbye, see ya, do whatever you need to do. Just part ways. The Daisuke experiment, in my opinion, is over, and this is the last time we've seen him pitch in a Red Sox uniform. All right, let's get to this series between the White Sox and the Red Sox. Like I said, the Red Sox came home in first place in the American League East. They were 1 game ahead of the Yankees. Hottest team in baseball, all right? They had won 13 out of 16. They had gone into Cleveland. They had taken 2 out of 3 from previously the hottest team in baseball. Cleveland's still up there. They've cooled off a little bit. But the Red Sox went in there. They took 2 out of 3. They came back winners of 13 out of 16. And then all of a sudden they get swept at home by a struggling Chicago White Sox team. John Lester took the ball in Game 1, and he went 5 2/3 while allowing 7 runs on 8 hits. He walked 4 and struck out 8, and he needed 127 pitches to do it. It's the second most pitches he's needed in an outing in his career, and it's the most he's needed since his no-hitter in 2008. So, I mean, that leads me to believe that leads me to ask, rather, well, what's going on with John Lester? You know, he seems to have conquered April. He had a very good month, considering the way he's pitched in April in his career. Comes into May, and then all of a sudden he starts struggling. I mean, right now, as it looks, he's 7-2, which is a very good record still, but he's got a 3.94 ERA. He came into that game, that last game that he pitched against the White Sox, in which he allowed 7 earned runs. He came in with a 3.36 ERA. All of a sudden, it's 3.94, floating with a 4.00 ERA almost. And he's now allowed 4 runs or more in 4 of his last 5 outings. That's not John Lester-like. You know, that's Daisuke-like. That's Tim Wakefield-like, although this year Tim Wakefield's been very good. But that's just not the way John... there's clearly something wrong here with John Lester, and I'm not worried. I know he can turn around. I know it's a simple fix. It's something he's just gonna have to work with Kurt Young on, but there's obviously something that he's not doing right. I don't know if it's mechanics. His velocity seems fine. His cutter seems fine. It's just, does he have a feel for his other pitches? Does he have a feel for his changeup, his curveball, his straight four-seamer, things like that? So that's something they'll have to discuss. He's been pushed back in the rotation now. He's instead now going to pitch next on June 7th, giving him 7 days of rest. So we'll see what's going on with John Lester. Obviously, he's right now, he hasn't been that same guy that we've watched over the last 3-4 years develop into that ace, that co-ace with Josh Beckett. And I'm hoping he can get back to that level. I mean, like I said, it's nothing to worry about. It's just a little bit concerning, seeing that 4 out of his last 5 starts have not been good. Switching to a slightly more positive note, Dustin Pedroia, who has been in just as big a slump, although his has been season-long, has shown signs of coming out of it now. He was looking like a deer in the headlights at the plate. I think the hottest he had been in this during the season was that first series against New York, where he went, like 10 for 14 or something like that? Incredible numbers in that first series against New York. But then since then, he has just been invisible. Hasn't done a single thing on this team. It been, I think, 3 weeks between RBIs for him at the plate. He's already struck out like 25, 26 times this year. Last year, I think, how many times did he strike out? I don't have that set in front of me, but I think he struck out no more than 35 times all of last year. Maybe even less than that. So, I don't know if his foot is bothering him now. He still has a screw in that left foot that he injured last year. He broke his foot last year in San Francisco. I think it's definitely bothering him. The question is, how much is it bothering him, and is it related to this slump? But like I said, he has shown signs of heating up. He's making solid contact. He's not striking out as much. He's hit safely in 8 of his last 10 games. So this could be a sign of things to come. Now, it is June. Yesterday before the game on the pregame show on Nesson, they were talking about how June has been Dustin Pedroia's favorite month, June, July. These 2 months in his career have been his best months by far. I think he's a career .318 hitter in June with 40-something RBI in the month in his career. So hopefully this is a sign of things to come with Dustin Pedroia, because he's just too good a hitter for this to continue. So we'll see what happens with that. But speaking of good hitters, let's move on to David Ortiz, who is just on fire. You remember how hot Adrian Gonzalez was in the month of May? David Ortiz was equally, if not more hot than Adrian Gonzalez, and no one's talking about it. no one is talking about how hot David Ortiz is. It's the one story that is flying completely under the radar, and I just don't understand why. I don't know if it's because everyone's starry-eyed about Adrian Gonzalez, which I know I am. I mean, the guy is amazing. Like, this is a name that we had heard, but we never seen this guy. We just, heard that name. Oh yeah, Adrian Gonzalez out in San Diego. He comes to Boston, and all of a sudden he just starts tearing the cover off the ball. Maybe that's a part of it, but no one is talking about David Ortiz. I mean, this is a guy who 2 years ago, at this point of the season 2 years ago, was hitting 186. All right? He was slugging 284. And get this, he didn't hit his second homer of 2009 until June 6th. That's 4 days from today. Second home run of the year came on June 6th, 4 days from today. You know how many he has today? Today, as of today, 2011, June 2nd, 2011, he has 13 home runs. That just shows how far he's come since that agonizing slump he had 2 years ago. At this point, David Ortiz is hitting .313 with 13 homers, 28 RBI, and a .964 OPS. Okay, so obviously it's a stretch to say that he had a better May than Adrian Gonzalez. He did not. Obviously, Adrian Gonzalez was on pace for history in terms of the number of RBI he had. Just the fact, look at his batting averages. It's in the 340s. He's trailing Poppy by just 3 homers. So obviously Adrian Gonzalez is the bigger, better player. But David Ortiz, no one has talked about him. I mean, this is a guy who's had a complete resurgence here. And, I mean, this will be an interesting storyline to see, come... obviously, it's way too early to start talking about free agency, but he is coming up. He's in a contract here. He's in the last year of his deal. It'll be interesting to see how Theo plays this at the end of the year. If he thinks that Poppy can continue to hit this way for years to come, at least next year or the year after that. I mean, he is 35 years old, but I mean, he's proven that he's made some changes. He said he's done some homework in the offseason, and it's showing. So it'll be interesting to see what Theo does. All right, let's move on to Rich Hill. He came in in relief of Matt Albers yesterday in the 7th inning of the game against the White Sox. The Red Sox were trailing 7-4 at that point. He came in and he walked Adam Dunn on 7 pitches, and on the 7th pitch he just grimaced and he clearly just came off the mound clearly in pain, clutching his left elbow. And he was promptly removed. Now, obviously we didn't know what was going on at the time. Terry Francona, in his post-game press conference, didn't know either. And just an update that Rich Hill will get an MRI on his left forearm, and we should be finding out shortly, if not today, in the next couple days, what is going to happen with him, if he's going to be day-to-day, if he's going to go on the disabled list. He has been one of the best relievers out of the pen for the Red Sox, both against lefties and righties, so it would be a huge loss to lose him to the DL. It would be an opportunity for a guy like Felix Stubrant to come in. We do need a lefty in that bullpen now that Franklin Morales is also on the disabled list, so it'll be interesting to see what happens on that front, but we'll definitely keep you updated. And then the last thing I just wanted to talk about was John Lackey. John Lackey went on the disabled list on May 12th and has not played in a Major League Ball game since. He did throw a simulated game on May 27th. In that outing, he had 40 pitches. And then on May 31st, he had his first rehab assignment with the AAA Paw Sox. He threw 63 pitches against the Norfolk Tides. I believe 46 were for strikes. And in that outing, he went 5 2/3 with 1 run on 3 hits. He didn't allow a walk, and he struck out 2. And now he's expected to make his next start against the Athletics on June 5th. The thing with John Lackey is obviously he has not lived up to his contract since signing that in December of 2009. Just hasn't been the guy that we thought he was going to be. Hopefully, he can come back, kind of find peace with what's going on in his personal life. For those of you who don't know, his wife is battling breast cancer. That could be a part of the reason he has really not lived up to that contract, or maybe a part of it is he's just simply not that good a pitcher. And it's still too early in his contract to say, but it's a good start here to see him come back, and we'll find out. He's coming back on June 5th, like I said, and we'll get a pretty good idea how he goes from there. Last year, if you remember, he had a solid ERA. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but after July till the rest of the year, he had a very, very good ERA. Unfortunately, the first half of the year was just so bad that it wasn't able to come down enough, and he ended the year with a very high 3.8 something ERA. So we'll find out what happens with John Lackey when he makes a start against the Oakland Athletics at home on June 5th. So perfect segue into the end of the show. The Sox get a much-needed day off today. They'll start their 3-game set against Oakland tomorrow in Boston. Clay Buchholz gets the ball. He'll be taking on Josh Outman. And you know what? Hopefully they can right the ship here and get back to the top of the AL East. Alrighty, that's pretty much all we have on this edition of Red Sox Weekly. Thanks so much for joining us, and looking forward to talking to you guys next week. Thanks a lot. See ya.